You've seen it every year, right? That explosion of cherry blossoms in the spring, or sunflowers all turning their heads to face the sun. Well, it turns out that's not just some beautiful accident. It's actually the result of a very precise decision made by a timekeeper more sophisticated than you might think, hidden deep inside every single plant.
I mean, really think about that. It's one thing for a single tree to bloom, but for a whole orchard, a whole hillside, to burst into flower within days of each other. That's not a coincidence. That's a spectacle of incredible biological precision. So how do they all get the same memo to bloom at exactly the right time?
Because for a plant, flowering isn't just about looking pretty. It's a massive gamble. It's the moment they commit all of their stored energy to making the next generation. If they get the timing wrong, it doesn't just mean a bad year. It can mean total reproductive failure. This is some seriously high-stakes biology. So let's really dig into this decision. First, we've got to understand just how absolutely critical the timing is for a plant's survival. It's all about hitting this perfect seasonal window. If you flower too early, you just haven't had enough time to store up the energy you need to make healthy seeds. But if you wait too long, your seeds might end up getting dumped into the freezing cold of winter. The plant has to thread the needle and get it just right. So how in the world does a plant know when that perfect window has arrived? Well, the first piece of the puzzle is an internal timekeeper, one that runs on a surprisingly familiar 24-hour schedule. It's called the circadian clock. And honestly, the best way to think about it is like a really good self-winding watch. It's got its own internal mechanism that keeps it ticking on a roughly 24-hour cycle. But every single morning, that first bit of sunlight acts like the winder, resetting it and keeping it perfectly synced up with the actual day. And this is so important because it allows the plant to anticipate dawn, not just react to it. And when you boil it all down, this clock is a really elegant system. It needs an input to set the time. That's the light. It needs a central oscillator, which is kind of like the gears of the clock, the part that actually keeps that 24-hour rhythm going. And finally, that rhythm drives the outputs, all the plant's daily actions, like growth and, of course, deciding when to flower. Okay, I know this diagram looks a little intimidating, but the idea behind it is just beautiful. That central oscillator, the gears of the clock, it isn't made of metal. It's a feedback loop of genes. So picture this. Morning genes turn on at dawn. As their proteins build up, they switch on the evening genes. But then, and here's the cool part, those evening genes turn around and switch the morning genes off. It's this constant rhythmic dance of genes turning each other on and off that creates that perfect 24-hour cycle. But wait, for that internal clock to be any use at all, it needs information from the outside world. It needs to know how long the days are getting. So how does a plant with no eyes actually see the light? Well, it turns out plants have their own version of eyes. They're these specialized proteins called photoreceptors. You can think of them like the cells in our own retina. Some, called phytochromes, are tuned to pick up on red light. Others, like cryptochromes and Zeitloop, are specialists in sensing blue light. And all together, they give the plant this really rich, detailed picture of the light all around it.
All right, another one of these wild diagrams. But here's the key thing you need to know. All that information coming from the red and blue light sensors doesn't just go straight to the clock. First, it gets routed through what you can basically think of as a biological switchboard. This hub takes in all the different signals, processes them, and then passes one single unified message onto the clock.
Okay, so we've got the internal clock ticking away on its 24-hour schedule, and we've got the plant sensing the length of the day. This is where the magic happens. This is where it all comes together. The entire decision to flower, it all hinges on one single key protein. This is the star of our show. Its name is constans, or just Co for short, and its production is controlled by that internal clock, so its levels rise and fall in a steady 24-hour rhythm, day in and day out. And right here, this is the aha moment. It's called the external coincidence model, and it's brilliant. On a short day, let's say in early spring, the internal clock causes the CO protein to peak in the middle of the night. But in the dark, that protein is really unstable, and it just gets broken down. Poof, gone, no flowering. But look what happens on a long summer day. The internal clock still makes CO peak at the same internal time, but now that peak coincides with daylight. Light makes the protein stable. It builds up, it reaches a critical level, and bam, the trigger is pulled.
So the trigger has been pulled in the leaves, which is where the plant senses the light. But the flower itself needs to be built way up at the tip of the stem. So, how does that message get from point A to point B? For a really long time, scientists were chasing this ghost. They knew there had to be some kind of mobile signal, some chemical messenger that traveled from the leaf up to the bud. They even gave it this cool, mysterious name, Florigen, the flower generator. But for decades, nobody could find it. And then, finally, they found it. And get this, the mysterious Florigen wasn't some exotic new hormone. It was a small, mobile protein called flowering locust T, or FT. And guess what tells the plant to make it? Yep, our friend, the Constance protein that builds up on those long, sunny days. So this FT protein is literally the mailman. It's made in the leaves, it hops into the plant's vascular system, its highway basically, and it travels all the way up to the growing tip. And when it gets there, it partners up with another protein and flips the master switch that tells the plant, okay team, stop making leaves, it's time to build a flower. So let's just zoom out for a second. This whole process isn't just a clever bit of biology happening inside one plant. This is a fundamental piece of nature's clockwork, and it has shaped not only entire ecosystems, but even our own civilization. I mean, figuring this out is a huge deal. For agriculture, it means we can actually breed new kinds of rice or wheat that can grow in places with different day lengths, farther from the equator. In ecology, it explains how whole ecosystems get synchronized. The plants, the bees that pollinate them, the birds that eat the seeds, they're all operating on a shared schedule. This clock is what allows life to adapt and thrive all across the planet. And what's truly amazing, what's just mind-blowing, is that we share this fundamental biology. Just like that plant, you have a 24-hour circadian clock ticking away inside you right now. It's reset by morning light, and it controls everything from when you feel sleepy to your body temperature. When our clock is in sync, we feel healthy and rested. When it gets out of whack, we feel awful. It's the same basic principle, shared across completely different kingdoms of life. Which really leaves you with this one big thought, doesn't it? We walk past these simple plants every single day, maybe without even giving them a second glance. But inside every single one of them is a timekeeping mechanism of incredible elegance. It just makes you wonder, what other secrets, what other intricate stories of survival and adaptation are unfolding quietly right in front of our eyes?